All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Friday morning coffee chat. Hope you're all doing really well. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you all, and great to have your company here on a Friday morning. It's 9 a.m. Friday, the 11th of February, and it's hot, but not too humid, which is good. For those who don't know me, my name is Rod. I'm the founder of the Learn to Paint Academy, where we teach beginner to intermediate level artists how to paint in oils, acrylics, water mixed oils, and gouache. And we've been doing this now for getting close to 10 years. And we've taught well more than 85,000 students around the world in various formats. And it's always a pleasure to have your company here on a Friday morning to talk about learning to paint, painting in general, or the business side of art, or the Learn to Paint Academy if you've got questions. So there's our web address there. If you're new to what we do here, learntopaint.academy, you can go and check us out, find out what we're all about. So I hope everyone's doing well, and we'll just give people time to check in here. Good morning, Terry in Las Vegas. Good to see you. G'day, Eric in Chicago. Gail in Georgia. Morning, Floral 12. Morning, Donna in Cairns. I must get up to Cairns. I know I say that quite often. G'day, Robert in Ireland. Hope you're doing well. You're always very consistently there, Robert, and we appreciate it. Manju in Ontario, Canada. Good to see you. Debbie in Lake Cathy. Welcome. And over on Facebook land, good morning, Yvonne in WA. Morning, Winnie. Morning, Carleen. Morning, Margaret in Victoria Point. Morning, Mary in a very cold Ireland. Well, if I take 5 degrees from us and give it to you, then we'd probably both be happy. No, actually, today's not too bad. Morning, Tracy in the Bay. Morning, Gail in Wyoming. G'day, Steve in Ontario. We've got a lot of people in Ontario. Who knows? One day we might do a workshop there. You never know your luck. G'day, Marty. G'day, Shelley in Maine. And Jenny on the Gold Coast. G'day, Colin. Great to be with you too. Morning, Sharon in New Zealand. New. Where'd that go? Good morning. First time I could make it. Good on you, New. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Morning, Audrey. Morning, Mel in Budrum. Down the road. G'day, Darlene. How are you? Hope you're doing great and life's working out well. G'day, Linda in beautiful British Columbia. Welcome. G'day, Terry in Perth. Morning, Jenny on the Gold Coast. Morning, Joyce in Texas. G'day, James. Not sure where you're from, James, but looks like you're in Melbourne. G'day. Spent 45 years of my life in Melbourne. Morning, Shelley. Morning, Kim. Morning, Sue in Harvey Bay. Love it up in Harvey Bay. Morning, Sharon. G'day, Becky in Oklahoma. And where do we get up to? Morning, Sujata in Nevada. Morning, Kay down at Tambourine. Stephen in cold Scotland. 0 degrees. Oh. Morning, Margaret in Gosford. Morning, Merrill, WA, 2 degrees. And it's 11:05 in Ireland. All right, well, I've got a couple of little updates for you. And then today's session is going to be all about you guys. Give you plenty of time to ask all the questions that you have about learning to paint. But first, I just want to just run you through just a couple of little things. Boom, 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 boom. Let me just call them up here for you. And then I'll show you on the screen, just so that you're all up to date. Boom, boom, boom. Especially those of you who are new. Actually, if this is your first live stream or you're fairly new to the Learn to Paint Academy, just let us know in the chat so we know. It's always great to have new people come and join our global community of happy artists. So let us know in the chat. And I'll just give you a couple of updates and then we can open it up to your questions. So I'm just calling up a couple of pages just to show, so I can show you our updates. So I'll just bear with me for 1 second. This is called a professional delay tactic to give people time to register on the live stream. Well, that's one version of it. The other version is, this is where Rod doesn't quite know what he's doing. Oh, bum. Sorry, folks. I've done something I shouldn't have done. Technology, hey? Just bear with me for 1 second. Don't panic. I haven't gone anywhere. I just need to change my monitors, so just hang on for 1 sec. For those of you who are sort of wondering, what on earth is Rod doing? I dragged the control panel over into the other screen, and now I can't get it back. So I do apologise for this. Just give me a moment. Well, you know, mind you, don't get too excited. Chances of me getting to Ontario anytime soon are probably not that great. All right, how am I going to get my screen back? This is very embarrassing. So for those of you who think that I'm some sort of technological wizard, it should be pretty clear and evident that that's just not the case. Botheration. Without the control panel, I can't control anything. See if that helps. All right, I think we're back in business, folks. We're back in business. I've just mucked up my control system, but anyway, that's okay. So, apologies for that. Let me get under what I was going to show. Don't quit your day job, absolutely. Yeah, I'm an artist, not a technical person. A good chromatic dark, thank you, Stephen. Yes, it's one I prepared earlier. So I do apologise, folks. I'll show you now what I was going to show you, which is just a couple of little updates. Yes, definitely head on over to New Seville at some point. Yes, you're right, Becky. I should have somebody running the tech for me, but you know, sometimes men are a bit too silly to ask for help, aren't they? Rightio. The problem is my mouse, for some reason, is disappearing. So that's just made my life a little bit difficult, but not to worry. I know that if I do that, and there we go, that's what I'm looking for. That one there. All right, so I just want to give you a couple of little updates. Oh, this is very frustrating with the mouse not working. Bear with me for one sec. Okay, cool. So, you should also be seeing Acrylic Painting Workshop number 1. This is the registration page. To get to the registration page, you just need to go to learntopaint.academy/register, and we are going to be running a 2-day acrylic painting workshop. I've got a project picked out for it. And it's going to be great. We're going to run it for 2 days on February 17th and 18th. Just let me know if you can see the registration page there. But yeah, it'll run over 2 days, and it'll be an introduction partly to the Moore method of painting, but it will also be an acrylic painting mini workshop. So what we'll do is we'll go through some of the basics of acrylic painting. I'll show you the supplies that I use. Now, you guys aren't seeing the right screen. Sorry about that. Picking up the wrong screen. Oh, Lord have mercy. Why are you giving me such a hard time today? Should be showing the registration screen. So hang on for one sec. So I know many of you have registered already. I think we've had nearly 1,000 registrations in the last 24 hours, which is good. Let me just see if that fixes the problem. Nope. I'll just kill that for a second, see if I can fix the problem. Oh, thank you to everyone who has registered. That's very exciting news. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll break down a project over 2 days. It'll be designed for beginner, right? But I know many of you have been painting with me for a while, or some of you are a bit more advanced. So in that case, it's a project that you'll be able to add your own flair to. Okay, we should be in business now. All right, we should now be seeing the registration screen come up. Good on you, Helene, appreciate that. Yeah, thank you for those who have invited friends. There we go, we're on the registration page now. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's completely free, and it's a great way to be introduced to what we do here at the Learn to Paint Academy. And so if you do know anyone who's a budding artist or wants to get into art, or maybe they're already painting, please send them here. Now, the way to get there is to go to learntopaint.academy/register, and then that will forward you to this page here. So it's free to register. Once you register your details in there, it will take you to the information page. Those of you who've done our challenges before will be familiar with that, but the information page is /info. Now, it is important that you register your email so that you can get access to the recordings and so on. And the information page here will tell you all the details, and this is where I'll add the photo and so on, just prior to the event. So it's going to be a fun event. We'll do one painting project, and notice I've called it number 1. My plan at the moment is to maybe do 3 or 5 over the next 6 months or so. And it'll be a revisit of the basic skills, but it'll also layer on what you've already learned. And we'll address some of the question marks that come up for people in painting with acrylics, which can sometimes be a little bit tricky for some people, especially when you're getting started. So that's coming up. It's the 17th and 18th of Feb. So it's next Thursday, Friday. And this is the new format of how we're going to do our live streams. Okay, so we're going to be doing once a month. We'll do these 2-day workshop type events. They'll be like mini challenges, I guess, just without the Facebook group and everything that goes with that. Members will be able to post their results up in the members area, the Learn to Paint Academy. So that's one thing I just wanted to let you know about. The other thing is, if you come to our main website, learntopaint.academy, that's our main website, and go to events. See, there's an events section here now in the menu stream here. Click on events. Now the goal is, and best laid plans of mice and men, of course, the goal is that the events calendar will be kept up to date with all the coming events. So you can see here, February, Friday the 11th, we've got our coffee chat. Next Wednesday, we're going to have an advanced live stream for members. Okay, so if you're a full access member, this will be within the Learn to Paint Academy members area. And then Thursday and Friday, 17th and 18th of Feb, is when we'll do our 2-day acrylic workshop we just talked about. And with any of these events, you can click on the link. It'll come in here to more details, and here's how to register, etc. I've got to fix up this formatting, but we'll get to that. And so then Wednesday the 23rd, we'll do another advanced live stream for members. It'll be a continuation. Then in March, 3-day workshop, which is booked out. We're going to start at the end of March our Great Acrylic Painting Challenge, and I'll be filling out the other events for March probably early next week. So just keep an eye on the events calendar. Now, one thing that you can do, which is quite a good development, is you see down the bottom here it says subscribe to calendar. If you click on that, you can actually link your Google Calendar or your iCalendar, Apple Calendar, to this events calendar. And so it'll automatically update your Google Calendar and iCalendar, and it will put the events in your time, not my time, so you'll know exactly when they are. All right, so that's a good thing to come in here and connect with that. So that's that. Other thing I wanted to tell you about is, let me just zip over back to me. One thing I'm playing around with, and is the idea of, obviously I got into teaching art because I'm an artist, right? So one of the things that I'm playing around with is the idea of running auctions. And at the moment I'm experimenting with one, which has currently got 3 bids on it. And what I'll be doing is probably adding one a week, and so having a series of rolling auctions. And what we'll do is a lot of the demonstration paintings that we do during our live streams and our challenges and stuff, I'll make them available at auction, either at unreserved bidding, or if I'm framing them, then the starting bid will be to cover the cost of the framing, right? So I've got one painting up there at the moment, which has got a couple of bids on it already. And it's an opportunity, rather than paying the full retail price, which is on our website and so on, is to be able to own a piece of art if you're interested. Potentially, I'm not going to say it's going to be at a bargain because it may not be, right? But let me just show you how that looks. So I'll just do this quickly and then we'll move on. But just want to make sure that everyone's aware. So this is my rodmore.art site, and you can see I've put a section in here for auctions at the moment. And if I scroll down, there's a section here of auctions. So as I add more auctions, there will be more of these that will appear, right? So if we come up here and go to auctions, boom, boom, boom. Okay, and then this is the current auction. You can see it's got 3 bids on it. You buy it now, price is $4.90. This is framed painting, and free shipping in Australia. It will be added on top if you're in other parts of the world. But it's an opportunity to own a piece of art that you may not normally have been able to afford potentially. So you can go and check that out as well. And if you want to get on the notification list for when these auctions are coming up, just come back to rodmore.art and enter your email into the Collectors Circle section there. And lastly, if we come to our members area, you remember in January we did a whole month of challenge. It was called Kickstart Your Art. That's now uploaded into the members area. So this is the members area of the Learn to Paint Academy. If you click on courses, and if you just type in Kick into the search bar, you can see it there, Kickstart Your Art. It's all now loaded into there. And I've also put in here bonus photos. For those of you who really like the idea of painting cubes and blocks and things, there's a whole lot of extra photos in there for you to have a go at. So everything, recordings from the challenge are all loaded now into the members area. You're just going to go into courses and search for Kickstart Your Art. There's a few different ways of navigating through to there. All right, I think that's enough jibber jabber from me. Make sure you register for the 2-day acrylic painting workshop. And let me just check in, see if everyone's... No registration page in LTPA. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Terry. Can you expand on that for me? Manju's registered, great. Robert said, I don't have any room to paint at the moment, but would love to log on and watch the project being worked on. Is that possible? Absolutely, Robert. You don't have to paint along, but you're more than welcome to join us just to watch. So Jada said, yes, thanks for the photos of the blocks, Rod. Would love to practice those. Yeah, try doing one a week. I think that'll make a massive difference to your painting if you just do one small study each week, for sure. Okay, and let me just scroll back here. Yes, I deliberately blacked out the screen before when I was trying to fix the technical issues, just so that you wouldn't see my frustration on my face, right, all contorted and So, yeah, so thanks to everyone who's already registered for the 2-day acrylic workshop. I appreciate it. It's going to be great. Steve says, wow, that is awesome being able to add to my calendar. And so does Kim, yep. So I've tried it and it seems to work, but there is a little bit of a delay to update your calendar, so don't expect it to automatically update. But it certainly does do it after a little bit of time. So Gail says, you've been busy. I'm always busy, Gail. Always busy. I like being busy. Ruth says she's looking forward to it. It's always fun. Yep. Jenny says, I'm in. Good on you, Jenny. Sonia says, can't wait. Now, I should point out, it's a 2-day acrylic workshop, right? But most of you will be aware that the method I teach, the Moore method of painting, can be used with oils, water mixable oils, and gouache. So even if you're not an acrylic painter, still come and join us. Pardon me. Audrey says, registered. I'm using Matisse structured acrylics. Bought retarder to keep it wet. Fantastic, Audrey. Little squirty bottle as well. Sonia said, I added it to my Google Calendar and it loaded straight away. Fantastic. Must just be my end that it went a bit slow. Jenny said, Matisse paints are lovely. I use both brands. Yeah, I'm going to be using Artilia Interactive paints for the 2-day challenge, but feel free to use whatever acrylics you want. I'll talk about Artilia and some of the properties of them and why I like them during the challenge, but feel free to use whatever you like in there. Hang on a sec. Terry said, I meant the live stream on membership page. Oh, okay, yeah, I deliberately blacked out the page, yeah. Can we add to Outlook? It doesn't look like it at this stage, Sandy, but that may change in the future. I didn't see an option on that page to do that. Thank you, Terry. I appreciate that. I've got to find a happy medium. But you'll be pleased to know I've started doing Pilates a couple of times a week and been walking and so on. So I'm working on my health slowly. And I got good news from the radiation oncologist yesterday, so happy about that. All right. Love the Artilia paint, says Carolyn. Fantastic. Me too. Have I got a deal with Artilia? Still working on it at the moment, Jenny. Just waiting to hear back from them. It's looking positive for our challenge in late March, but even if they don't come on board, we will still run ahead with our acrylic workshop. So it's our acrylic challenge, which will be bigger than the workshops. So, all right, friends, I'm going to open it up to questions. I know we had a bit of a delay today with the technical issues. Sonia said, your painting arrived and looks awesome in my studio. We'll take a photo. Oh, fantastic, Sonia. Sonia bought one of our recent demo paintings in a nice little frame, so I'm glad to hear it's arrived okay, Sonia. Thank you, Linda. Jenny says, Pilates is a challenge. Fabulous news about your positive feedback and radiation. Yeah, thank you. Pilates is a challenge, absolutely. Especially when you're unfit, and I've had a number of back issues from sitting at a computer for too long. Thank you, Ruth. James says, hi, Rod. What would you use a mop brush for? I don't use a mop brush, James. I keep things really, really simple. And basically what I use are flat brushes. So the Moore method of painting that we teach is all about 3 steps, 3 colours and 3 brushes. So I only use... I use a large and a medium and a small flat brush, and occasionally a script liner brush. A mop brush is typically a watercolour brush, and it's for doing big washes, right? So it's not designed for tree leaves at all. It's designed for doing big washes in watercolour. So I don't particularly use that. I keep my brushes really simple to a couple of brushes. Thank you, Jenny. I appreciate that. Might take time to get me fit, but we're working on it. Patricia said, signed up for the 2-day workshop. Can't wait. I got the catalogue from Rosemary Brushes. So many to choose from. How many brushes do you really need to paint? Well, the Moore method of painting is 3 brushes, isn't it? So you don't need that many, really. But, you know, when you think about it from a manufacturer's point of view, they want to entice you with a whole array of brushes, right? Or paints, or mediums. I mean, that's what manufacturers are in the business of doing. But you don't need them. They can be handy, but not necessary. Thank you, everyone, for your kind comments. Your dog is typing on your computer, Sandy. That seems a likely story. Although I must admit, my Molly does like to walk on my keyboard when I'm typing. Hi, Janet. I've been absent for a couple of months. Back to normal. Looking forward to the challenge. Terrific. G'day, Peter. Stephen said, I need to varnish a couple of paintings. I know you've answered what variety, matte, silk. I tend to use spray varnish, and I use a gloss. That's just my preference. I don't think it really matters. It comes down to personal preference. But I use a spray varnish. I give it 2 or 3 coats, and I use a gloss. So that's the way I tend to do it, Stephen. I do it outside because spray becomes airborne and can be bad for your lungs. But equally, most varnishes are petroleum-based products that I'm aware of, so they can be toxic, so you want to make sure you've got plenty of ventilation. Heather says, is gouache similar to watercolour? Pardon me. Yes and no. So watercolour and gouache are both water-based mediums. The difference is that watercolour is transparent, so you get the layers coming through the subsequent layers you put over them. Gouache is more opaque, so that it's more blocky feeling, so that you block out the previous layer when you paint over it. That's the big difference. But the other difference is they both dry very quickly, although gouache may be a bit quicker. But with watercolour, you can't really rehydrate it once it's dry. Pardon me. But with gouache, you can. So you can put down a layer with gouache and let it dry fully, and then you can come back in and rehydrate it with just a wet brush. And so it will reactivate the paint even though it's dry. So it takes a little bit of getting used to from that perspective. So they're the main differences. Gouache is fantastic for sketchbook work. equally so as watercolour, but I guess the difference is if you're going to use watercolour to do sketches, it doesn't give you an accurate reading for when you come back in and do an oil or acrylic painting using that sketch, whereas gouache is a little bit more closely aligned, being a bit more opaque. So that's what I'd say the differences are. I love gouache, and I'm really looking forward to our 3-day sketchbook workshop so I can spend some time just painting in gouache. G'day Foxy in Geelong. Terry said, are Golden's brand heavy body acrylics a good alternative? Yeah, I think they are. They don't reactivate with water, so once they're dry, they don't tend to reactivate in the same way that Atelier Interactive do. But the Golden Open acrylics, they stay wet for longer. They feel a little bit more like oils in that regard. The only problem I found with the Golden Open acrylic paint was that it wasn't very viscous. It was quite a thin, loose paint, and I like a little bit of viscosity, thickness, to my paint. So that's why the Artillery Interactive, I feel, has a little bit more of a thickness to it, which it's just a personal preference, so it may not bother other people. But anyway, thank you, Gail. I appreciate that. It is good news. It's a journey. Let me come back here. Jenny said, Rod, where do you buy your brown paper from to wrap your art after bubbly wrapping? Spotlight had the best. It's like a craft paper, but you need to get fairly thick craft paper. So Spotlight in Australia. I'm not sure other places. Ruth is saying the post office in Canada. But certainly Spotlight stores have or last time I checked, they had a thick brown craft paper, and that's what I try and use. Otherwise it can tear pretty easily. Now just remember, if you're wanting to ship a stretched canvas, it's just bubble wrap is not good enough. You need to also put a hard board on either side, because they'll get damaged in the post, unfortunately. So that's what I do. I put very thick bubble wrap, and then I put a sheet of MDF board on either side, and then the brown craft wrap paper around it. Jenny said, Rosemary and Company are worth approaching for a link to benefit you in sales from you promoting them. They actually approached me, so I'm in discussions with them currently, Jenny, but great idea, thank you. Very good, I think that's all the questions there. Rosemary, Rod, I'm having trouble finding how to order things. Is there a link? Rosemary, what things are you trying to order? Maybe a little bit more info and we'll be able to help you out. And also, what country are you in? Yeah, a little bit more info and we'll try and get you an answer. Good morning, Rosalie. Very tardy today. What's going on down there in the hillside of Victoria there? Thank you, Manju. Morning, Heather. G'day, Stephen. All right, what other questions do we have? What other questions do we have going on at the moment for everybody? Questions, questions, questions. You know I love answering questions. You can ask me questions about the business side of art if you want. Happy to answer those as well, to the best of my ability. Kathy said, my painting arrived in perfect condition, wrapped that way. Love it. Looks so nice on my living room wall. Fantastic, Kathy. Thank you so much for buying a painting off from me. I really appreciate it. And to everybody who's bought a painting from me, greatly appreciate it. So I'm glad to hear it's arrived. I think you're in the States, aren't you, Kathy? So it took a little bit time to get there. Desley says, I haven't been able to find you demonstration on preparing MDF boards. Desley, it's in the members area under Art Studio Chats. So if you go to courses and then Art Studio Chats, you'll find it in there. Will the advanced live streams continue as usual? So the scheduling dates and times is going to change. Let me just come back and I'll show you. You may have missed what we were talking about earlier, Gail, but if you come to the main Learn to Paint Academy website, And so I'd encourage everyone to, make a note of our main website, learntopaint.academy, right? And then go to events here in the menu. If you're on your mobile phone or an iPad or something, then the menu is going to look different. It's going to be 3 dots or 3 bars, something like that, okay? So click on events, and this will give you all the events coming up. So you can see here that the next advanced live stream, which will be in the members area, Wednesday the 16th, and then the follow-up session will be the 23rd, okay? So yes, we'll still be doing them, a couple of sessions a month, but you need to keep an eye on the events calendar. And as we talked about earlier, if you're using Google Calendar, which I highly recommend, or Apple Calendar, you can actually sync your calendar now to our events page so that you can have it automatically populate your calendar. And I highly recommend that to be able to keep track of what we're up to, because things change and move fast around here. We're like lightning. We're like the lightning of the art world. Yeah, we're not, but it sounded good in my head. Okay. Is hardboard an acceptable panel to gesso and paint on? Yes, it is, Eric. However, if you're using MDF, which is a medium density fibre board, so a manufactured board, you need to prepare it correctly. So we have a video on that in the members area. Go to courses, Art Studio Chat, where I talk about how I prepare the board. So basically you need to seal both sides of the board with a house sealing paint, and then on the surface you want to paint on 2 coats of gesso, okay, is what I tend to do. So if you prepare it correctly, then hardboard is definitely, what a lot of professional artists in Australia, the ones I follow at least, landscape artists, that's what they're using, is gessoed hardboard of some description. Some use masonite, some use MDF, some use marine, what was it, something, I can't remember, but there's another board that they use. Meryl says, are you still planning your framing side of your business? I am, Meryl. In fact, I just placed the order yesterday for professional framing equipment. It's going to take about 2 weeks to deliver, and then it might take a month or so playing around with different types of frames and styles and so on. So as I start to use the equipment and develop the ideas of what we'll do, I'll feed it back to you through our coffee chats and social media, and I'll ask for your opinions and feedback as well, right? Yes, definitely planning on doing that. It's subject to a number of things, right? One of them being I need to employ somebody to come in and make the boards and so on, make up the frames. So finding somebody to employ, that could be the Achilles heel in the plan. But yes, definitely still planning on doing it. Okay. Paula said, what is the difference between white oil colours, for example, titanium white, zinc white and warm white? Which one to decide to choose in painting? It's a good question, Paula. I can't tell you the exact difference. All I can really tell you is I've only ever used titanium white. Why? Because the artists that I started following when I started 12 years ago, that's what they were using, right? Titanium white. So that's all I've ever used, and I've found that to be perfectly fine. I don't know a lot about titanium, zinc white and warm white, to be honest. So I just used titanium white. Never had a problem with it at all. But I should really educate myself, so I might take that on as a project this week. Terry said, Golden Open is different from Heavy Body. Yes, yeah, they're two different, both made by Golden Acrylics, but Heavy Body is going to be thicker paint. So typically in acrylics, you get a heavy body type paint, and then you get more of a flow type paint, which is a thinner paint that flows easier, right? So heavy body is thicker, more viscous. The open paint is different. So Golden Open is designed to stay wet for longer, but it's quite a thin paint. Artilia is hard to find in the US. Have you tried Dick Blick and those online stores? You might find them on there, or Amazon, if you search on Amazon. Heather said, with regards to quick daily paintings, many teachers go on about painting daily quickly. I struggle with this concept, as when I try to go quick, I make a mess and have trouble with applying the principles I'm learning. I think daily painting, or as close as possible, let's call it consistent painting, right? I think that's absolutely essential to improve. So if you can paint daily or 5 days a week, then I think that's a key to really improving. If you're only painting 1 day a week, then it's going to take longer to improve. Now, painting quickly, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think you're probably better to just paint at a pace that you're comfortable with, and if you're doing that daily for 20 minutes plus each day, then you will improve, right? What happens as you improve is you get quicker anyway. So, So there was a movement, the daily painters movement. There's still a number of artists around who follow this, where they'd paint little small paintings, 8 by 10 inch, and they'd do a complete painting in a day, which, once you get a handle on things is not that difficult. Might take an hour to do a small 8 by 10, and then they were putting them on eBay and selling them, right? And then a few other auction sites appeared in that movement. Now, I think that's a great concept, but you want to intersperse that with doing some larger work as well. Don't worry about the quickly part. Just paint often, frequent, consistently, and you'll get quicker as a result. Donna says, does the ability to reactivate gouache remain indefinitely? If so, do you seal it with varnish? I don't think it's indefinite, Donna, but to be honest, I've never gone back to a gouache painting I did 3 weeks ago. So it's really because gouache dries almost instantly, right? It dries really quick. So I've only ever really experienced the reactivation of it during a painting session. Right, so I can't answer definitely, but I would say it would definitely set over time, and because you're doing it on paper, I'm not sure about the varnishing. Typically, gouache you paint on paper, so I really don't know about the varnishing side of it. Good question though. All right, let me just scroll back here. Gail, we don't get a question from Gail. Rosalie's just back from holidays. Lots to do after 7 weeks, I imagine, Rosalie. Did you go to Rockhampton on your holidays? Rosemary said Melbourne, water-based oils and all Artilia. If you're in Melbourne, I would go to Art Shed Online, Rosemary. Art Shed Online. They're based in Moorabbin. So, but they have a great range of paints. I'm not sure about the Artilia. The other option is Eckersley's. They've got stores in Melbourne, and they've also got an online store, which I order a lot from. You'll get, will you get Artilia? Yeah, I'm pretty sure you get Artilia, and you'll get different water-based oils as well. So either Art Shed Online, they're very Montmartre focused because they're owned by people connected to Montmartre. But Eckersley's as well would be the other one, or Senior Arts, Seniors Art online store. Did I try the Medium W? Not yet, Carolyn. I've ordered some really expensive oil paints that I'm going to try it with, so I will be doing that soon. Arizona, Kathy. Fantastic. I've got one of my collectors in Arizona now. Greatly appreciated. Steve says, have you got the sizes of the frames you use, i.e. the measurements of the mouldings? Well, no, because I don't really have a standard at this stage. I don't know if you're referring to my plan to start creating artist-ready frames. If you are referring to that plan that we talked about a few weeks ago, I haven't decided on what mouldings. So once the equipment arrives, I'll be buying a whole range of mouldings and experimenting and seeing which ones we like. And then I'll put it out to you guys, get you to vote on what are your 2 or 3 favourite mouldings. And I'll get your feedback from that. Desley says, I put a couple of paintings on eBay and accepted a bid, turned out to be a scam, wanted to send me a gift card. Look, that happens. It doesn't matter what you do online. There's going to be people out there who try and game the system and scam you. So as long as you're aware of that possibility and you keep your wits about you, then just report them to eBay support and they'll take care of that for you, right? But for every one scammer, there's 1,000 genuine people out there who want to buy paintings. So don't be put off by the scammers. As long as you've got your radar up, right, and you go, oh, it doesn't sound right. One of the popular scams when you get your own website for art is and I've had probably 40 or 50 of these over 10 years. they email you and they say, oh, I've just noticed my wife has been looking at your artwork and it's her birthday coming up and I want to buy her something special. And, tell me what paintings you've got for a few $1,000s and I'll send you a check, right? So that's a scam that lots of artists have been approached by. So I just laugh and say, we don't take checks in 2022, but you can use your credit card and buy any of the art on my website that you like. And then they go away, right? So anything that sounds a bit suspicious usually is. Genuine people on eBay, they'll bid and they'll buy your paintings as per the way the system's intended. Georgina said, I'm lost, can't find my password, I want to sign in and it won't work. The $37 course, if you bought that promotion, is pre-recorded, so you can access it at any time, Georgina. If you are having problems, go to our support desk, right? So the way to get to our support desk, and our support desk will help you out post-haste. The way to get to our support desk is to come to our Learn to Paint Academy. So always remember our main website address is learntopaint.academy, right? That's our main website. From there, if you've bought one of our courses, you've got a section here which says members. You can click on that and that will take you to the members area where you need to log in, right? I'm already logged in, so I'll just come back from there. And if you're having problems, this section here where it says support, click on that. And then you see here it says, click here to raise a support ticket. I need to update that. Notice there. Click here to raise a support ticket. Fill out your details and our support desk will get back to you pretty promptly. Notice here it says, please allow 48 to 72 hours. We normally get back to people within 24 hours, right? We've got a pretty good system set up. And our support team, they work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, Brisbane time. And then over the weekends, I usually drop in and answer any urgent questions over the weekends. So contact our support desk if you are having any form of issues at all with logging in. Okay. There seems to be a shortage of MDF in my local stores. That sounds a bit desperate. I'm not sure where your local stores are, but I don't think that'll last long. Joy says, where can you find the photo reference from last year's demos? Well, you probably need to be a little bit more specific. If you're talking about challenges like the Unleash the Artist Within challenge, then that's been set up as a course in the members area and the photos will be within the course. If you're talking about the live streams, then they're usually in the live stream course where all the recordings are. I usually post the photo reference underneath the video. If it's a specific one that you're having problems finding, Joy, contact our support desk and they'll help you out. But that's a little bit too generic for me to really be able to help you at this point, I'm afraid. Gail says, don't communicate with anyone on eBay except through the eBay system. I agree, that's a great tip. Hello in Arizona, Cindy. All right. Pardon me. Steve says, hi Rod, what brand of gouache paint do you recommend? At the moment I'm using Art Spectrum, which is an Australian brand, but probably Winsor & Newton would be a good brand. I haven't explored too many options, so yeah, maybe try the Winsor & Newton gouache paints. But I use Art Spectrum, which you may find on Amazon, I don't know. But they are an Australian brand. What thickness MDF boards do you use? 3mm. I have seen artists use 6mm. One artist I know uses 4.5mm, but I've never been able to find 4.5mm. So I use 3mm. You don't want any thicker than 6 because you've got to think about the rebate on the back of the frame. So, my pleasure, Rosemary. Rosalie says, yes, Rockhampton with my son and grandchildren had lots of trips and accumulated hundreds of photos. Fantastic. Lots of painting ahead, just need to get rid of the spiders. Yeah, some great subjects up around Rockhampton and Yeppoon and all around there. Beautiful part of the world. I did see that there was a crocodile at the main beach of Yeppoon there, so I hope he didn't go swimming. Reeves Gouache says, go. Yes, I have heard good things about Reeves, just not tried them. Right, let me just scroll back here. Do I think Instagram is essential to sell your art as well as being on a sales site? Well, I think it's a good option for artists, Instagram, and there are plenty of artists who do well on Instagram. Is it essential? No, nothing's essential. Like for me, doing my own painting and selling my own artwork is only about 5 to 10% of my time. And so I hardly ever use Instagram, but I sell a reasonable amount of paintings, given how much time I've got available to put into it without using Instagram. However, I think if I was looking at social media, I would think Facebook and Instagram are the two better ones, and then YouTube, Pinterest would be the less effective. I think the real key, well, building an audience, yeah. If you've got the time, but the good thing about Instagram now is you can post via Facebook if you've got a Facebook business page, which you should have if you want to sell your artwork. You can post to that, but also send it through to Instagram and do both of them at the same time. So, so it's worth doing. Sharon says, I'm struggling with Winsor & Newton water mix oil being really thick. I'm scared of watering them down too much. Can you explain your method of when to add water and when not to? Well, my general rule of thumb is to thin the paint down in the early stages of the painting and progressively get thicker in the latter stages of the painting. So when we're doing our drawing and our blocking, I'm using quite a bit of water. So Sharon, what I'd recommend is, if you haven't done so already, is go and look at the water mixable oil course, which is an introduction course in the members area, and look at the section on thinning the paint down, right? And so it's just a feel. You just need to get the feel for it. Now, in the latter stage, when I come into step 3 of the Moore method of painting, I'm using fairly thick paint, but I'm also then adding in a medium, which is like a linseed oil, just to make sure the paint takes over the previous layers, right? So it's just really getting a feel for how much to thin them down. But go and review that section in the course, I think. Jenny says, why do you need to seal the back of the board as well, Rod? In case moisture gets into the back of it, then it will seep all the way through the board and destroy it. That's the main reason. Anne says, Rod, what am I doing wrong? I don't know, Anne. I think you're doing a lot of things right. On a seascape on wood painted in acrylic interactive, I've let the ocean dry, but when I added a combi van and surfboard, the clean ocean colour keeps appearing through like the paint on top disappears. The clean ocean colour. Well, it's possibly one of two things. The colours that you're trying to paint the combi van in are semi-transparent, which means they let the subsequent layers come through. So that's one thing. Or you're thinning down the paint too much when you're adding the combi van over the top of the pre-painted ocean. So you might be thinning the paint down. So when you're doing a layer, you want to not thin the paint down, but you also want to make sure that you're using fairly opaque type paint in those subsequent layers to stop the previous layers coming through. So have a look at those two things, Anne. Sonia said, my daughter's dog jumped on the bed when I was relocating a canvas painting and put a hole in it. Is there a way to repair the canvas? I don't really want to throw it out. Not to my knowledge, no. There might be videos on YouTube, but yeah, I haven't had much success in repairing canvases personally, Sonia, so I don't know that I can help you with that. Jenny says they do sell Artilia in Art Shed. That's good. Julie said, phew, made it. Lost track of time working in the yard. We'll catch up on the replay. Thanks, Julie. Should you put stretchers in the back of the canvas before or after painting? Well, there's no real shoulds in art, I don't think. It's personal preference. You can either paint on canvas just as it is and just tape it to the wall or the easel and paint on that. Some people prefer to paint on canvas that's been stretched because it has a little bit of give in it. Personal preference, just depends on what you like. One consideration though, as you paint more and more, if everything is on stretched canvas, you need more storage room, right? So that's one consideration, which is part of the reason why a lot of professional artists paint on board, because they're easy to store. But you don't necessarily need to stretch the canvas to paint on it. I've quite often just put loose canvas and taped it up onto the backboard here and painted on it. Sharon says, if you add linseed oil to the paint, can you still clean up with water? Now we're talking about water mixable oils here. you need to make sure that you use a linseed oil that's designed for water mixable oils. So if you're using Winsor & Newton Artisan range, right, they have a range of mediums like this one. This is a thinner, but they also have a linseed oil designed specifically for the Artisan range. So you want to look for that and then use that, right? So I tend to use this one, which is by Cobra, but you can still use it with water mixable oils. It's designed for water mixable oils, right? So you don't want to use one that's designed for regular oils, no. Yeah, Anne says, okay, I'm probably thinning the paint too much. When you're doing your combi van over the ocean, you don't need to thin the paint. So just put it on thick, but also just check the back of the paint tubes and make sure that all the paints you're using aren't semi-transparent. And also check your white paint to make sure it's not semi-transparent as well. The little wood things that come with the canvas, those little wedges, I never use them, right? The only time you would use the wedges is if, for some reason, the canvas becomes a little bit loose, right? So that only happens if the stretcher bars shrink or warp. So if you buy cheap canvas, the stretcher bars can warp, right? If you buy good quality canvas, usually the stretcher bars are fine. So I never use those little wedges at all. Sorry, Sabina, I didn't quite understand what you meant. Julie says, what are your thoughts about fixing canvas to board, desirable or not? Well, again, it's a personal preference. You know, I know some artists who do it. It's a fair bit of mucking around. That was the thing. I have tried it. I've done it before, but it's just a fair bit of mucking around. Personally, if I was going to do something like that, I would get loose canvas. I'd cut it to size, 8 by 10. I'd tape it up onto the board there. I'd paint, and then I would, if I liked the painting, then I would mount it to board for framing purposes only. That's my approach. Okay, so that's a personal preference thing. It's worth trying if you haven't tried it. Just means you get the feel of canvas, but without the give that you get in a stretcher, in a stretch canvas. Okay. No, don't do that in Yeppoon, because you've got that estuary there where the boats are. But there is a lovely little pool there at Yeppoon, which I've swum in, but definitely don't swim in the beach. Gail said, one of my stretch canvases rippled. Is anything to be done? It's an unused canvas. Well, you may be able to use those little wedges just to... What the wedges do is they push the stretcher bars out, and that makes the canvas a bit tighter. The other thing you could do is to remove the canvas off the stretcher bars and then re-stretch it. If it's rippled, it's probably because the stretcher bars have either shrunk or expanded, or, it's typically cheaper canvases have cheap stretcher bars. So you need good quality stretcher bars. Helene said, I've been using a cotton canvas pad from Riot Art. Seems to be okay and doesn't need stretching. Yeah, they're not a bad option, the canvas pads. So if you're getting good results, then keep doing that for sure. Lindley says, I have a bottle full of wedges, might be better used for kindling. Yeah, that's what I've always thought, although you don't know what chemicals are in it. Like it seems to be a manufactured wood, so could have some sort of glue or something in there. Desley said, I've had success with spraying the back of the canvas with water and rub it in gently as it dries. Flattens it out. Yeah, I've heard of artists doing that as well, so that could help you fix up any ripples in a canvas. Good tip, thank you, Desley. Where are we up to here? Does the ability, no, I've done that one. Zinc white, I believe, is transparent. Yeah, or semi-transparent. Good to use it for smoke coming out of a chimney. Yes, good tip, thank you, Manju. Heather says, I'll continue to go at my snail's pace rather than painting quickly. Yeah, which is not a bad thing to do as well. I mean, when we go and do our 3-day workshop in Noosa by the river and the ocean there, snail's pace will be just perfect. We'll just do little tiny sketches and probably chat more than we'll paint, but who knows? Chris says, titanium white is the whitest white. Zinc is a bit warmer. Titanium white is used last in a painting for the highlights. Well, there you go. That's interesting. I've always just used it as the only white, but that's an interesting comment. Thank you, Chris. Do you use watercolour paper with gouache? Yes, you can. You can also use acrylic paper and multimedia paper. It's great for sketchbooking work. In Canada, MDF is known as hardboard. There you go. For all you Canadian folks, hardboard in Canada. Not entirely sure what you mean floral, but if you're having problems, contact our support desk and they'll be able to help you out if you're having problems uploading photos and so on. Shouldn't be a delay, but yeah, contact our support desk if that becomes an issue. Robert said, just register the 2-day course. Good on you, Robert. Meryl said, have you decided on sizes of the frames yet? Will you make them in straight inches? Trying to decide what sizes to get MDF cut. No, we haven't made any decisions on anything yet, Meryl. It's going to be a process of experimenting for a month or two. But we're going to start off with small frames because they're going to be easier for us to box up and ship out to people. But the idea is going to be, if we can work out how to do it, is that they will come. So for those who don't know what Meryl's talking about, a few weeks ago I discussed the idea that I'm going to start a side business which is going to be ready-made frames for artists. They'll be standard sizes, a couple of different molds to choose from, but what we'll do is we'll include the MDF board in the frame, right? So you just take the board out. So that way you know you've got a board that's cut specifically for that frame. Because one of the issues I've had with ready-made frames over the years has been that getting the boards cut accurately and so on, they never quite line up. So when we ship out these ready-made frames, when we get to that point, they will have an MDF board in there. All you need to do is take them out, gesso them up properly, and then paint on them. Once it's dry, pop it back in the frame and you'll know that it's going to fit. So, yeah, but we haven't decided what sizes, but initially they'll be small ones, right? Because it's going to be easier for us to store them and ship them out. And the idea will be our minimum order will be a box of 5 of any one design and size. So just to make it worthwhile doing, that won't be one-offs and it won't be customs by any stage. But no decisions have been made at all about that yet. As I said, I've only just ordered the equipment, so I will keep you posted as we develop the idea further. Heather said, when you are at the blocking stage and your flat plane is grass and your hills are grass and further away, would the further away hills be the same hue as the flat plane, just greyed out more to change the value and look in the distance? If I'm understanding the question, you're talking about aerial perspective, how to make something look further away. Okay, so there are certain principles that help you create aerial perspective, right? The idea of making something look further away in the landscape, given that we're painting on a two-dimensional surface. So the key principles are dark to light, right? So the values are typically darker in the foreground and they get lighter as they move away from us. That's the first thing. Second thing is temperature. They're going to be warmer in the foreground and they're going to be cooler in the distance. And the third thing is saturation, right? So it's not so much about the hue, it's about the saturation level. So saturation, when you squeeze paint out of the tube, it's highly saturated. And then as it recedes into the distance, it starts to become grayer, right? Starts to mute off. So if you apply those 3 principles during the blocking phase, then you'll be on the right track. Okay, so I hope that helps. Terry says, I glued small piece of canvas to the back of canvas to repair. Well, it's an interesting idea. I guess it depends on how big the tear is in it. The other Terry says, is it okay to use different brands of acrylic paint together? I don't see a problem with that. What I would recommend is that you make sure that if you're mixing different brands, that they're both artist quality or professional quality. I wouldn't want to mix in student grade into artist quality. So I don't see a problem with Artilia and Golden, no. Yeah, and the other thing we'll do with the frames is not only will it have the MDF board in there ready for you to gesso, but it will also have on the back a little packet which will have the D-rings, the screws and the hanging wire. So once you've painted on your painting and you pop it back in, it'll have little flexi pins just to secure it. You'll also have the hardware then to put the hanging wire there. So it'll be all a complete kit that you need. All right, what other questions do we have? We haven't had a single question about business of art. Do you have another plein air coming up? I had to cancel last time due to borders closing. Well, Rosalie, first thing I'll say is to check on the events calendar, but we're doing a 3-day sketchbook workshop plein air in Noosa in March. and I've got another one proposed for May, which I haven't announced yet. But yeah, so the potential is there for a May one, 3 days, but it'll be focused on sketchbook, so using gouache or watercolor or ink and wash or just grey lead pencils, and we'll be out at the river and the beach here in Noosa. So yeah, that's flagged for May. I just haven't made it available for people to register in. The last one, the one in March, the 3-day sketchbook in March in Noosa, sold out in about 48 hours. So keep an eye open for when we open up the May one. Rosalie said, boards and frames, excellent idea. Yes, I think so too. Gail says, I have a new website on Fine Art America now. What's your take on that platform? Fine Art America, look, it's been around for a long time. I haven't found an artist yet who does really well, and let's call doing really well 6 figures, right? They're doing 100,000 plus a year in sales of their artwork on Fine Art America. Now, there could be artists that are doing that, but I haven't seen it. And I think the biggest problem I've seen with Fine Art America is that just putting your art up there doesn't mean you'll get any visibility at all. Whereas on eBay or Etsy, you tend to have a much higher chance of being found as a starting place. So I think if you go onto Fine Art America, you really need to drive the traffic to your own listings, is my feelings on it. Now, I could be completely wrong. There might be a way on Fine Art America today to be able to get visibility amongst their traffic, but I suspect that's probably not the case. Now, if there are artists out there who are doing well on Fine Art America, I'd love to hear about them. So if you know of anybody. But I suspect if anyone is, it's probably because they're driving their own traffic through social media to that platform. But keep us posted, go. I think if you're just starting to sell your artwork and you don't have a social media audience and people following you, then eBay and Etsy are definitely the places to go to start off, because people go there every day to buy art. Desley says, I'm slowly working on my selling using eBay and created a Facebook page. Have had some commissions from Facebook, but haven't been able to get volume of product yet. Well, yeah, you got to build it up over time, and consistency is the key. And the more prolific you are with your paintings, the greater visibility you'll get within eBay and Facebook and so on. So it all comes down to volume, as you say, and being super consistent, which we talked about on the Artist Business Academy live stream just the other day. All right. Where are we up to? Rod, any recommendations for pre-stretch canvas to purchase in Australia? Well, pre-stretch means it's on a stretcher canvas. So Create Art, I think, are probably one of the better Australian-made stretch canvases. So try and look up Create Art canvases. Valerie says, I love the canvas pads. I have a lack of space to store large canvases. Yeah, they're a great option for storage for sure. Jenny mixes Artilia with Matisse with no problems. Terrific. Weather will be nice in May. Yeah, May is one of the best months in Noosa. Great time to go out plein air painting. Well, Sonia, look out for details. I'll try and post them up early next week for the May workshop. And says, in Australia, what's your opinion on good quality canvas frame price-wise? Well, the problem with getting anything framed is if you go down to your local framer, they treat it as a custom frame job. And so, depending on the size, you haven't mentioned what size, but a 16 by 20 will typically cost you around $120 to $180 in that range with a local framer. Try frameshop.com.au. They tend to be a little bit less expensive. Frameshop.com.au in Australia. Etsy versus eBay, cost factors are the same or better with one. It's a different structure price-wise, so I haven't done a direct comparison because I just figure that whatever the cost to find a buyer is what it is, right? So I don't get caught up in the costs. But I prefer eBay because it has a more immediate response. The auction system within eBay stimulates buyer activity, right? So that doesn't happen on Etsy. Etsy, you tend to have to drive your own traffic to get your store going. But on eBay, using the auction system in the way that we've talked about in the Artist Business Academy and so on, is definitely the best way to stimulate buyer activity for your artwork when you're starting out. So that's what I recommend to everybody who's starting selling your artwork. eBay auctions is what I recommend. Now you build up your store on eBay and maybe you have a third of them at auction at low starting prices, and then you have a third at low buy it now prices, and you have a third of them at higher prices. But the auctions is what's going to get you attention in eBay. Ruth says, very good to include the hardware with the frames, always a pain to finish it off. Yeah, so definitely we'll do that. We'll include a little kit so that you can all you need is a screwdriver and away you go. Price for a good stretch canvas? Well, again, it depends on the size, and it depends on whether you're going for gallery wrap or not. But try looking up Create Art. They're a local company here, but they're Australia-wide, and they have really good quality stretcher bars and canvas, but they're not cheap. You know, they're what professional artists are using, Create Art, for their canvases. Yeah, I'd look up Create Art and find a supplier, Anne, and check out the prices on those. I don't know off the top of my head. Sorry. Well, Gail, once you enter the arena of trying to sell your artwork, you're now stepping into the business side of art. And if you want to move a little bit quicker on the business side of art, everything has a cost to it. So finding a buyer for your artwork has a cost. So that cost could be that you do a promoted post on Facebook, right? There's a cost there to find the buyer. It could be that you put it onto eBay and there's an eBay fee or an Etsy fee. If you put it into a professional gallery like Blue Thumb or Saatchi, they can charge you anywhere from 30% to 50%. So finding buyers has a cost associated to it. There's just no two ways around that when you're trying to sell your artwork, right? Now you can put it in a local art show, but even then you've got to pay an entry fee. No guarantee of selling. The other cost is to do everything organically, just by posting onto your Facebook page and Instagram and just every day putting content out there over and over and over. That also has a cost. It's the cost of your time. So it just depends on which cost you are most prepared to pay. But if you're trying actively to sell your artwork, you're going to pay a cost one way or the other, right? A buyer has a cost associated with them. So you just have to have that mindset to start thinking in business terms. And so when I started out, I put everything on eBay at 99-cent auctions, which meant a lot of them sold for 99 cents. But over time, they started to bid up, and I was getting $80, $90 for little small paintings when I was an absolute beginner, right? So there was a cost associated with that. There was the eBay fee, but there was also the cost that on a lot of them, I sold them at very low prices. That was a cost. But I acquired an audience. And if you think long term, many of those people still follow me today and have come back and bought other paintings or have joined the Learn to Paint Academy. So there's always a cost associated with when you try and sell your artwork. It's just what you have to determine is what cost you're okay with. If you're okay with putting 20 hours a week into your social media to try and build an audience for people to buy your art, right, then that's still got a cost associated with it. It's a cost of your time, and it's an opportunity cost. You could have been doing other things. So as we enter the arena of selling our artwork, we have to decide which cost we feel most comfortable with and then pay that cost. Okay, selling your artwork without a cost does happen, but it's very rare and it's very random, right? So I don't care about one-off sales. I'm not interested in talking about those because anybody can fluke a sale. What I'm interested in is how do I get a system happening where I've got consistent and reliable buyers and sales of artwork. That has a cost to it. Alison said, I might just need to visit Noosa from New Zealand to attend one of your workshops and holidays, of course. Well, that's the great thing about doing a workshop in Noosa is you can definitely have a week holiday here. When things settle down, it would be lovely to meet you, Rod, and be part of the excitement. Oh, good on you, Alison. Yeah, it'd be great. Gail said, I've had over 2,000 visitors on Fine Art America in 2 weeks with no sales. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, visitors are one thing, but people coming with the intent to buy artwork, that's a completely different beast. It's a bit like posting on social media and getting likes and followers, right? That doesn't equate to buyers of artwork. And this is, again, why I come back to eBay. Every day people go to eBay and also Etsy, but eBay I think is easier to start with. Every single day people go to eBay with the intention of buying artwork in a whole range of prices. So it's a little bit different. Fine Art America, maybe there's people who like looking at artwork. I don't know. But 2,000 visitors without a sale is not necessarily uncommon. They just might not be people who are looking to buy art, perhaps. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. With the eBay auctions, do you have plus postage? Yeah, I always add postage to it, definitely. Yeah. And you've got to work out and that's why I recommend that you have 2 or 3 standard sizes that you paint so that you can figure out how much is it going to cost you to post to different places around the world. And then that way you've got a plan happening, right? Rather than doing things randomly. Manju says, I've painted quite a few paintings on canvas boards. All sizes of frames were available excepting 9x12. If I knew before, I wouldn't have done so many on 9x12. Your idea of MDF boards in the frame sounds absolutely wonderful. Yeah, and that's the problem I've had over the years, Manju, is finding, because the manufacturer of the frames is different from the manufacturer of the boards. The two don't necessarily go that well together. And then you've got a whole range of ready-made frames in places like IKEA, which you can buy for $10, but they're not really artist quality, you know. If you're selling your paintings very cheaply and you don't really care about the quality of how you present them, then the IKEA ones matter fine, right? For anything, say, under $50. But if you want to start selling your artwork and presenting it professionally as an artist, then you need a better quality frame, and that's what we're proposing to do. Chris said, I like your idea to have a frequently asked questions section on the website. I do too, Chris. It's going to come down to time as to how we develop that, but we'll definitely work on it. Do I still think Facebook ads are effective? Depends on what for, Terry. If you're asking regarding, Terry's in our more certified instructor program, if you're asking with regards to workshops, then yes, 100% I do. In fact, I advertise heavily on Facebook for workshops and online courses and so on. I spend thousands of dollars a month on advertising. So yes, I do think they're effective. I don't think they're effective for trying to sell your artwork, right? So don't start advertising, well, I shouldn't say that. They are effective for selling artwork, right? But it's not as simplistic as that. There's more to selling your artwork than just putting a Facebook ad up. You know, it comes down to price point. So if you think, if I was in a gallery, the gallery is going to want 50% commission on any sale I make, right? So therefore, if I say, you know what, gallery, I'm not going to use a gallery, I'm going to be self-representing. I'm going to set up my own website, and as this I showed you at the start of this live stream, you know, I'm experimenting with having auctions running on my personal website right now, right? So one way of thinking about that would be, you know, taking the same 50% commission that the gallery would get and putting that into advertising so that you can build up your own audience of buyers for your artwork. Not an audience of followers, but buyers, right? So that's definitely viable, but it's a long-term plan and you need to know what you're doing with the Facebook ads. But definitely, if your question is about workshops as an art teacher, Terry, which I suspect it may be, then 100%, yeah. You set up an event, so you need a Facebook business page for your art teaching. You set up an event and then you promote that event via Facebook ads. That can be very effective because you can target people in your local area, right, and the right demographics and so on. So I hope that answers your question. All right, last chance to ask questions, so pop them on now. A lot of artists aren't selling to America due to COVID problems and shipping. I just sold someone, I think it was Kathy, who's on the live stream. She purchased one of my paintings off of eBay in America. And I don't think we had too many problems. I think it was about 3 weeks for the delivery. But wasn't a problem. Australia Post. So I wouldn't stop selling to America just because of COVID issues. I have one that went to the UK. I think Alan in the UK purchased one of my paintings, and it may have taken 4 to 5 weeks, but that was in the height of the pandemic nonsense. Might depend on the size of the paintings. Yeah, big paintings. Whenever you get into bigger paintings, shipping problems arise. So that's why I'm saying when you start out selling your artwork, just do little 8x10s, 9x12s, no bigger than that, 5x7s, right? And it'll solve so many problems like storage in your house, postage, right? Potential damages when it gets shipped in the post. All of that is reduced. So definitely small paintings. What is the best way to neaten the back of a painting when framing? Well, you can buy framers dust jackets. It's like a really heavy, thick brown paper that you cut out to size and you tape it on the back. That's probably the typical way that most framers are finishing off the back. All right, absolute last chance to ask a question. Absolutely the last chance for today anyway. Hope you've enjoyed today. It's been helpful for you. Kathy said, I appreciate that you still sell on eBay. I bought what I could afford and was absolutely thrilled to be able to get it. That's great, Kathy. I mean, yeah, so I've got up a number of paintings on eBay. Some of them are a bit more affordable than others, but what I am doing, as I showed you at the start, is moving auctions onto my Rodmore art site. Now, I've got a big audience, so I wouldn't try doing this without a big audience. But if you are interested in buying my art, the auctions are going to be, potentially more affordable unless they get bid up. And I'll be putting all my demo paintings and everything to auction on my own site. So register on the newsletter there at rodmore.art. How often do you scrape off and clean your palette? I should do it after every painting session, Jenny. That's what I should do. And I mostly do that, but not always. But yeah, I'd say if you're painting in oils, if I know that I'm going to come back the next day, I will leave the paint on my palette because I've got the different mixes, so it's easier to work with. But if it's going to be a couple of days, I scrape it all back. All right, going once, going twice, last chance to ask a question. Thank you, Sonia. Have a great weekend, everybody, from Sonia and me. Sorry, the name of it's like a dust jacket paper. Go and chat to your local framer, or look on eBay for framing supplies. You should see it there. I don't actually know the name of it. I'm just saying what I think it is. So I don't actually know the name. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Sajada. Thank you, Terry. Manju, I bought a cheaper brand of water mixed oils, not happy with it. Can I use it for blocking and then use Winsor & Newton? Yeah, you could use it for that for sure, Manju. Just rough in the blocking just to use up the paint. Good on you, Chris. Thank you, Meryl. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Gail. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you, Rosemary. Thank you, Ellen. Thank you, Shelley. Thank you, everybody. All right, hope you all enjoyed today. I appreciate your time and company. Good on you, Rob. How are you, mate? Good to see you. Feels like I haven't seen you for 30 years. That's probably true. Shit. All right, folks. So I'll see some of you next week for our Wednesday advanced live stream in the members area, and I'll see all of those of you who have registered. I should give another plug to this, actually, shouldn't I? For the 2-day acrylic workshop coming up. It's 100% free to get involved in the live workshop. Just go to learntopaint.academy /register, right? And then you'll get all the details once you register your email. We had about 1,000 people in the last 24 hours have already registered for it. It's going to happen live on the Learn to Paint Academy Facebook page. So for those of you watching right now on Rodmore Art page, make sure you also like the Learn to Paint Academy page, because I'm only going to stream the 2-day acrylic workshop onto the Learn to Paint Academy page just to try and keep it easier for me to manage comments, because at the moment I'm looking at 4 different sites for comments, right? We've got people on 4 different streams. So for the 2-day acrylic workshop, it'll be only on the Learn to Paint Academy Facebook page and in the members area. So it'll be those 2. So if you're on the Rodmore Art Facebook page, shoot across to the Learn to Paint Academy one. Make sure you like and follow. But also make sure you register your email, learntopaint.academy/register. That's all from me. Hope you have a great day. Have a great weekend.